Welcome to the basement.
I drop gems, I'm hard, just peep the wordplay. I came to kill and resurrect on the seventh day. So red to push the button. Man, my shit disgusting. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Don't Sleep on the Couch podcast. I go by Cash, aka Exec P. Man, this is episode 190. Happy New Year to all you guys and gals out there, man. Peace and blessings to everybody that brought in the new year in a positive way. Also for some folks that kind of brought it in a negative way and stuff like that. Prayers and blessings to you. Hopefully this year is your year and things continue to get better. We are back for another episode, another year. We're going on almost 4 years here in the next couple months. So I'm proud of that. Also, before I get into who we have here on the podcast, I wanted to send my boy Prez off in a very, very great way, but somehow, somewhere, we just didn't get to do it. But he was, and he is forever will be a part of this podcast. Just want to let him know publicly that I do appreciate him. He's taken some time off. He'll be here in spot duties, but pretty much this is what you could look forward to me each and every week solo. He'll be back on some spot duty, taking care of some personal business over the next year. And this is kind of how the podcast is going to flow. More music, more interviews, more sports. Things ain't going to change, but we may have a whole host of different characters from time to time. So wanted to send him off in a grand way. Just didn't happen that way just due to scheduling conflicts. But that's my man of 20 plus years. Nothing is wrong with our friendship. Nothing is wrong with anything. Just wanted to put that out there before we get into the episode. But with that said, starting it off, I wanted to start off with an interview this year and not ramble on because I wanted to continue to support the independent artists. That's a big part of our platform. Today, episode 190, we got RTC PROFIT from Canada, our first rapper from overseas. So to speak, Canada is right there, big, like a little brother. But, it's official for us to have an overseas candidate here and rapper and quite talented at that. So I don't want to keep you guys waiting. Welcome to the couch for the first time, RTC PROFIT, man. What's going on, brother?
Appreciate it, my man. Thank you. I appreciate you having me on your platform.
Oh, anytime, man. Anytime. This is kind of long overdue. Sometimes, y'all, it's a lot of people that reach out, and we're fortunate to have people reach out, but sometimes we just got so much lined up, and, we do this all out the, strength of our heart and our time, our spare time. So sometimes it just doesn't line up. So I do apologize. It had nothing to do with your talent. It had everything to do with timing. So, but we here now, a year later, 2 projects, a lot of features in 2022. Man, tell the people a little bit about yourself, where you come from, and how long you've been doing this thing.
My name RTC PROFIT. I've been making music since I really locked in, got serious making music probably around 2016 or so. I released a project in 2017 called The Bear Market. And since then, a lot of EPs, a lot of smaller projects. But then this year, I actually honed in and knocked out, 2 full-length bodies of work that I feel are representative of the growth that I've had both musically and personally over the past few years. So, yeah, the RTC in my name, it stands for a few things, in all honesty. Initially, the concept was Round the Clock Records. That's the record label side of things. Because back in the day when we used to be working late night shifts, doing like kitchen work and being on the kitchen line and stuff, we'd be working late night and come home to the studio around 1, 2 a.m. and knock out tracks to 6 a.m. in the morning. So that's where the Round the Clock Records came from. But then it sort of branched off into a lot of different fields. RTC, in terms of my name, it represents Rise to Conquer. So Rise to Conquer Profit, it's almost the concept of overcoming the financial matrix that we find ourselves in. Also, it's a play on words, so to speak, because I was named after Elijah, the biblical prophet. So that's where the original name came from. And obviously, there's a million people calling themselves Prophet out here, so I needed something to sort of differentiate from these other artists. So that's that side of things. And then also, in terms of the record label within my own hometown, sometimes we try to operate and do some things in a philanthropic regard. So with regard to that, RTC stands for right to care. So right to care, rise to conquer, round the clock.
Dope, man. You said a lot of things in there that got a lot of questions, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. But I do want to ask, from what part of Canada are you from? Are you originally from Canada?
I was born in Calgary,
Okay.
Alberta. But I spent a lot of time in BC. Like Vancouver's my favorite city in Canada. I've tapped in Toronto to a certain extent. Really don't make too much music with people out there because they have their own stylistic approach, which is it doesn't necessarily align with mine. But
Gotcha.
yeah, that's really the origins is in Calgary, and it's not really a city necessarily known for hip hop culture, but there's a certain demographic of individuals within this city that have always understood hip hop, understood its history, understood the intent and the creative aspect of it, and have a respect for it, and obviously attempt to pay homage in the way that we execute. So
Yeah, and I feel that I just came from like 6 years overseas in Germany, and I've been in the military for 22 years, and I've been a lot of different places, and what I find about overseas is I won't say real hip hop or whatever the case may be. It's just the artistry of it. Like it just seems like some of their fans are not the fly by night fans. Like they really hone in on every different facet, whether it's music from a party aspect or just more of a feeling, or if it's more intricate rhymes and stuff like that. So it seems like where you're from, they kind of focus more so on the artistry of it all. Would you say so?
yeah, there's a certain segment, a certain demographic of people, absolutely, because obviously everyone really taps in with the mainstream sound as well, and to a certain extent, Calgary is a city of followers, so there's certain people that are going to immediately follow after whatever the mainstream style of the moment is. When it was 2018, everyone was trying to sound like Travis Scott. Um, people were trying to sound like the Baby for a minute, and all these different lanes. And I feel as though really and truly every aspect, I guess you could say subgenre of hip hop has the children that are birthed by the originators of that sound. Like you've got people initially that tried to sound like Rakim or tried to sound like G-Rap. Later on, tried to sound like Hove or Nas or Prodigy. And, today you've got people that try to sound like Cole, people that try to sound like Drake, people that try to sound like A Boogie, people that try to sound like all these different individuals, even within the underground sphere. People that try to emulate their favorite artists within the underground as well. So there's a lot of different people, a lot of different perspectives, but all the people that I run with are people that have a legitimate understanding of all aspects of hip hop and an appreciation for it as well. So that's sort of reflected within the music.
Okay. What's your heritage background? So to speak.
My family's from Trinidad and Tobago. So they were probably one of the first Black families in Calgary. To be honest with you, they came to Montreal initially. And then after Montreal, I think in the 70s, if I'm not mistaken, they moved from Montreal to Calgary. So we've been out here for a minute now.
Yeah, I just had to ask because I could hear the accent, but I can't pinpoint it. Trinidad, and I hear it just from I'm from Brooklyn originally, so my father's side is West Indian, British Virgin Islands, Totola specific, is where he's from. I'm a terrible West Indian. I haven't been back in quite some time, so this accent is gone. Like I have no New York accent. I'm a man without a home, like a nomad, man. But
crazy. You a global citizen.
Yeah, I'm a global citizen. Where I lay my hat's my home, man. Pretty much, man. But before we talk any further, man, I want to get people into the music immediately so they know why we're here, how talented you are, and then we'll kind of go from there. What song do you want to play? I'll leave that to you, man. What song do you want to play?
Let's see. I'm feeling the track Dystopia with Patty Hunch on Know It All.
Patty Hunch on Know It All. All right, we get right to it.
Coming live from dystopia, modern day Babylonia. A Ronin, they can't control you, fearing nothing or phobia. Red shit, I've been a soldier, this careful, that's to your soul from you. Yeah, staying prayerful, I know my role in this game of life. They do you dirty for spite. When you've been a public enemy, can't believe in the hype. Tricking you out your history, viciously been a heist. But I'd rather that I suffer so my brothers see the light. Some living by the flesh, so they burning, you smell the fumes. Got a second shot at life like I'm Lazarus out the tomb. I'm preaching to my niggas, they look at me like a fool. Cause they steady out, you scheming, whipping white up like Yakub. I ain't looking for no handout, you can keep that, dog. I be cruising.
Yeah, so yeah, flow. That's one of the first things that draw me to an artist is flow. A lot of dudes put words together quite cleverly, and then that's cool. But the bounce, I like a little bit of bounce, like a little personality in your raps, man. I know on your first project of the year, I know we'll get to that. You didn't have as many features, but this one you got quite a few features. Seems like you branched now a little bit more project-wise, man. What made you start rocking with Patty Honcho and Know It All for people that don't know those guys and what they've done in their own career so far?
I mean, these are all artists that I've tapped in with within the Twitter atmosphere, so to speak, and I really appreciate their artistry and appreciate the belief they have in themselves and the craft that they display. Obviously it's high quality releases from all these individuals consistently throughout the years, not just one album, two singles, whatever the case is. It's like album, EP, like full length projects that are quality and on point. So, it's sort of a mutual respect that we've all managed to develop. And, obviously we've got the Cypher Space platform where individuals are able to come in and display their verses or their beats or whatever the case is. So because of that, really and truly on the first project, I didn't want to include too many people because I feel since it was my first legitimate full length project, I wanted to demonstrate my own skill sets. But then with this one, I felt it was a good look to branch out, have multiple producers and have multiple features, and it was sort of a challenge for me to be able to ensure cohesiveness, to be able to curate a cohesive project with
executive produce.
Yeah, that's fact.
That's what you're doing essentially. You know what I mean?
That's fact. And ensure that in every single instrumental that people are rhyming over is something that would sound crisp over and be able to fit their stylistic approach while still sort of challenging everybody on the track as well. So that was the creative approach.
So how many producers did you end up working with on this project?
Truthfully, it's 8 different producers. Wow. Every single one of them, every single record on the project has a different producer. So the thing is with me, sometimes I like to hone in with one producer, and I'm definitely going to attempt to try that more during 2023. I have 3 albums planned with 3 specific producers, but with these ones, I just wanted to sort of spread my wings and display as much creative range as possible.
What were some of the challenges in doing that? 8 different producers, several different features. I've asked people I've asked people to do that, and a lot of the time, what I kind of got from a lot of different people is the issue is really just the timeliness of getting everything from everybody, man.
Yeah, that's a fact, man. It's like, the thing is, I don't really want to be, continuously messaging people, say, oh, you got that verse for me, you got that verse for me yet. But yeah, sometimes you got to have patience and understand, just give people their time, because obviously everyone has their own endeavors, people working on their own projects, obviously regular life shit to deal with. So I understood that, if I reach out to somebody, they may not necessarily get it back to me on my timetable, but I just wanted to make sure I gave people sufficient time in order to execute so that I could release before the end of the year. And we just managed to do that by December 16th. So, yeah, but when it comes to having multiple producers, one thing that's really essential is ensuring that you have a cohesive sound and that every track leads into the other sort of seamlessly. Even in terms of, obviously everyone has a different style. Everyone has a different approach. Some people prefer sampling. Some people prefer to create original melodies. Some people have, more trap style drums. Some people have the boom bap style. Some has even drumless styles, But it was really about ensuring that I get the sequencing of the album correct in order to have a seamless approach in terms of leading people on sort of a story through the project, you know?
So, competitive nature. A lot of spitters on here. Unruly, I'm looking, Patty Honcho, Know It All. Just some of the guys that I've heard in the Twitter space that you mentioned earlier. The rest I haven't heard of before. But they still deliver. Everybody delivered pretty damn good verses on here. How important was that competitive nature in you to not get washed? Nobody wants to get washed on their own project, man. Like, you know what I mean? How did you put any type of pressure on yourself? Who delivered, of course, is your project. So I would assume you delivering the verse first and you just letting them wherever it lands, it lands.
Yeah, man, that's the thing. Like, obviously, I know there's some killers on this project. You know, a lot of killers. Like obviously, you mentioned cats like Unruly, Know It All, Patty. Delano is mad underrated. Jay Heard, like crazy spitters. So I understood like I really gotta pen something quality, but at the same time ensure that it makes sense and it's not I don't like the raps was just like rapping about rapping. Obviously there's a bit of braggadocio that's necessary within hip hop, but I feel the need to actually have a conceptual approach to the record, you know? So in terms of the content of my verse, I wanted to match it with the artist that I wanted featured on it as well. So, you know, obviously I wanted to ensure that I came with a strong pen because all of them, you know, they brought their A game to say the absolute least, you know? So, but yeah, I just sent off the verses first and foremost. I'm not the type that's gonna get something back and be like, oh shoot, I gotta rewrite, you know, I gotta re-record because I ain't come hard enough. But, you know, a lot of people are telling me that, you know, I was able to hold my own against some of these heavy hitters, you know, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah, and every time I hear somebody that I'm not as familiar with, that I've listened to since we started the podcast, and you have somebody that I've had on the podcast or somebody that I probably talked to offline a little bit more often, I'm always like, all right, let me see if they gonna stick with it and kind of just keep up. Like sometimes you're keeping up, sometimes you John Stockton and you setting up the assists. You make sure the tempo is right and whatever you're doing on the hook to make the song right. And sometimes it calls for the bars to kind of be there. So this project is kind of well rounded. So it fit. Everything fit for me on this project in particular. So moving forward, man. What are some of your influences in terms of? I know you have multiple people on this project and multiple producers. Did you listen to any other projects that were kind of similar from some of the people that you follow to kind of get a feel for how the cohesion should go, or to just some inspiration?
I mean, my all-time favorite is Nas, man. Like all-time favorite. Like if I had to go top 3 in terms of artists that have influenced me, it would be Nas, Pun, and Tupac. You know, in terms of like the legends, you know, those of that lane. In terms of the modern day MCs, I would say Freddie Gibbs is a huge influence on me. But my favorite album from the previous year was that Magic album that Nas released, and it was concise. Yeah. It was a short record, and he released it around the same time of the year and at the end of the year as well. So that was something that I had a constant rotation just throughout the entire year. And one of the records I was really that I really listened to consistently was that 4016 Building record. Like the production on there is just crazy to me. So. And, you know, that rapid fire flow that Nas has the potential to, he doesn't always pull it out, but, you know, when he executes that flow and that stylistic approach, it's incredible to me.
For sure, man. For a long time, Nas was always like, you know, he's always tucked away in my personal top 5 or top 10, just depending on my personal favorites. But, you know, just recent years with Hit Boy have been amazing to where I'm like, this is what everybody's has always wanted all along, you know what I mean? Him just doing him over just some good ass beats, man. And yeah, Magic and KD3 were my personal top 10 albums of last year. And if you would ask, I'm a huge Jay-Z fan, I'm a Jay-Z stan. If you would have asked me that 5-6 years ago, people would have thought I was, you know, crazy just based on the people that know me, man. But I'm definitely there with you on the Nas comparisons, man. Like he's amazing, man. He's amazing. Who are some of the producers? I wanted you to shout them out because we typically like to have the producers on when it's like one artist, one producer, but with having multiple producers on here, I know that wouldn't be possible. But who are some of the guys that were on here? Just in case people like some of the beats and there, other independent artists may want to reach out to them.
Obviously, one of the big names on there is Greenery. He produced the last 2 tracks. The one featuring Jay Hurd and the last track, Mansa Matrix. Yeah, Greenery is a different animal, man. Like he's probably one of the most versatile producers that I've had the pleasure of tapping in with on a personal note. My friend Didi Wave, a tight friend of mine from years back. He's a dude I used to play basketball with in high school. So he is the producer on the first record, Redefined. Another producer that stands out is the producer of the title track, Conflict of Interest. His Twitter handle is B.I.G Vision. But yeah, so he's also, you know, a young cat in college and whatnot, and he's real underrated. So I also tapped in with some individuals, just other people that are lesser known, but you know, they build up their YouTube pages or whatever the case is, and that's oftentimes, you know, I'll hear it and then I'll hear the beats on YouTube and then I'll actually tap in with them to try to build a relationship before making that purchase, you know?
Okay. I rocks with Green too. I know Green quite well. He'll make you feel like whatever you send him is the best thing ever, man. He's such a good dude, man. He'll gas you up, man. Have you on cloud 9 if you send him back a good record, man. Which one do you want to play from produced by Greenery?
Let's go that last one, Mansa Matrix.
Mansa Matrix. All right. Turn that joint up.
Accepts what he sees because he is expecting to wake up. Ironically, this is not far from the truth.
Yeah, ain't been no long time in the game. I just stepped up, now the check cut and the gold all on my chain. This a roll call for the gang. I done told y'all who the main. I've been so flawed, man, my soul dog. Better scroll off from the pain. Team to convene for the dough. Like a unit of moving autonomous, we be stacking the green on the low. When you tryna get up out the matrix, nigga, first you gotta know the basics. I done graduated from a day shift.
You're gonna have to get this, man, the stream. We ain't gonna let you get the whole thing. We ain't gonna let you just a little sample, just a little taste. You know, just a little taste. Yeah, that's dope, man. That's dope, man. Like what I noticed a lot was the flows on this project, man. How conscious were you in really focusing on flows? I know you mentioned Nas with the rapid fire flow, but I see you doing that a lot, playing with the flows. Soliloquy was one of the ones to where I saw you tap into another pocket. How important was that for you going into this project as opposed to your first one? You did a lot of that too. At the top of the year, persona non grata. Go check that out for all you guys and girls out there that haven't listened. But how important was flow?
I feel it's always good to be able to manage, like have a good balance between delivery, flow, and lyricism, because it maintains the interest of the listener. So that obviously these days people have such a short attention span. You know, like I saw this study that the average attention span is between 1 and 8 seconds. So if you have a 3-minute record, you have to be able to hold that person's attention for a considerably longer period of time. So like I said, Freddie Gibbs is a huge influence of mine. And he's one of those artists that always has a variety of flows on his records, all throughout all kind of projects. And he shows a lot of ability to work over different styles of production as well. He'll touch the trap style. He'll touch, he obviously had the albums.
That PYS office crazy.
That's a fact, man. And it's like just the versatility. So I just wanted to be able to mimic that as well and have versatility within my stylistic approach so that I can tap into records like Soliloquy, tap in with records like Mansa Matrix, and be able to switch up multiple flows on the record as well, So it keeps the listener interested and ensures that, they stay tuned in for the whole project.
Okay. Outside of music, what keeps you sharp in terms of writing? How do you I know everybody at some point gets to a point of writer's block or just like, I don't have nothing to say this day, but how do you maintain, just your writing ability? For me, is going out to live life and experiencing life. That's how I come back to create whatever I'm doing. How is it for you?
Really and truly, it's the exact same. I feel after I release a project, I really and truly got to take a step back from the creation and just maybe even listen to instrumentals for a while, go about living life. Because I try to make my music based on lived experience so that it's relatable to the listener, because oftentimes we share a lot of similar experiences as people. So because of that, I feel it's a necessity for me to take a step back from the creative approach for a minute and be able just to go live life, have experiences, and then base the writing and the lyrical approach on those said experiences. So that's really what I do.
What do you? I've had a lot of talented people on the podcast that do a whole lot of different things. I had Joaquin the Divine on recently. I think that was our last interview. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him and his team.
Incredible MC.
Incredible. I was like kind of reading the credits. I was like, wait a minute, this is you produced this whole entire project, and I didn't know that. I didn't know he did that. Do you have any other hidden talents that you're not telling people about because he was modest about it? And I was like, you got to let that be known. Is there anything that you're doing or trying to get into in the near future in terms of touching different aspects of the music, whether it be production, whether it be videography, whatever?
Well, it's a few things, definitely. I used to play, not used to, I mean, I still play piano. I was learning classical piano from the time I was about 5 years old. And obviously, like the rudiments of music theory and all that type of stuff. So, Oscar Peterson, a great Canadian jazz pianist, one of my favorite pianists of all time. That's really someone that I looked up to when I was younger, and in terms of the way that I would approach, the technical aspects of playing piano. So oftentimes, like I said, my producer Didi Wave, who's in the same city as me, he's originally from Toronto, but he moved here a few years back. And sometimes I'll be in the studio with him face to face when we're actually trying to craft these records. And so sometimes I'll be helping him, create chords or chord progressions or melodies or whatever the case is, because he's just a master with the drums, And if we combine our two, our skill sets, then we're able to create an incredible piece of work. Apart from that, like the majority of my videos, I edit them myself. Like I have a friend of mine, a videographer, who actually encouraged me to get my own camera, my own drone, and all this type of stuff. And really and truly, for the most part, I just tap in on Final Cut Pro and I edit all of the footage that we shoot myself. So in 2021, I released
8 videos.
I'm gonna say videos, yeah.
8 videos. I saw that. Yeah,
fact. So all of those we locked in, and sometimes it would just be like a 3-4 hour editing session. We finish shooting the video, lock in, we finish shooting, edit, and then boom, release the following morning. So sometimes you really got to lock in on that and just execute and knock the shit out for real.
Nice. That's super inspiring. Not to promote myself, but like I'm doing the same thing for the podcast and interviewing people and doing my own music. Tap back into that last year. I got all the gear, but I definitely want to get to the music video aspect of it. Got all the skills. It's just the time, man. So if y'all don't know, that takes a lot of hard work and dedication to write the rhymes, do the treatment for the video, shoot the video yourself, edit the video. Like that's like maybe 4 or 5 skill sets.
Yeah, true enough.
Just put out there.
But
so yeah,
that's the thing, man. I feel like it's so essential in this day and age to be like that. That's really the definition of independence. To be completely self-reliant and self-sufficient, Obviously, we're always going to need somebody to play a certain role.
Absolutely.
It's an essential. Matter of fact, I was saying the same thing earlier today that, sometimes it's best sometimes you can't afford to go 5 lanes at once. But to be honest with you, you make smaller progressions when you do that. If you're able to delegate certain tasks or have certain people that are specifically, for maybe someone's a videographer, a producer, or a booking manager, whatever the case is. All these individuals who have a real specific task that they hone in on and maximize their skill set, and then you can make incredible progressions in all these multiple lanes if you work as a collective unit. So
Right.
but yeah,
It's finding reliable people that get the job done as professional as you would be. And then at that point, I have no problem giving them my money because I know if they tell me 15 days, 2 weeks, a month, whatever, I know they're gonna meet a deadline. Cool. We work well, and they want it to look as good as I want it to look good for me. So I like working with people like that are reliable. So, but yeah, like you said, you got to delegate sometimes because the main thing is the main thing, and that's the music. You know what I mean? So if the music ain't jamming, then who gives a damn about the video? You know what I mean?
yeah, that's a fact, man.
For sure.
But yeah, it's crazy to me because obviously we all have multiple talents. So there's still the potential for you to demonstrate those talents and skill sets, in multiple lanes. So that you have to find that balance in life. Sometimes it's about working with a team, and sometimes you have to make your own solo progression as well.
Yeah. Speaking of balance, let's talk about a little bit about your spirituality, or you invoke a lot of spirituality in your music. Is not so much nonsense rap. Is you got a bop to it, got flow to it. It has some personality to it, but you do tap into society's ills. You do tap in, to your spirituality, man. What makes you want to do that? Kind of going way back to the beginning of the interview in terms of how you say, hey, Toronto, some of those guys don't vibe with what I'm trying to do with. Is your spirituality or just the things that matter to you? Just are those some of the reasons why you make the music you make?
Yeah, absolutely. It plays a big role because, to be honest with you, there was a point in time where, within the music and within my own lifestyle, I was kind of wilding, to be honest with you. But once you grow and mature and gain certain perspectives and harken back to the teachings of your youth, so to speak, you put things in perspective and you're able to really understand that there's oftentimes, when people are young, they think there's a difference between the spiritual side of life and the physical. But truthfully, you have to understand that it all coincides. It's something that meshes together. So that's something that I try to represent within the musical aspect as well. Because I am a believer in the Most High. I believe in God. So I feel as though that is something that is essential to be communicated within the music I make. Oftentimes, some people feel like that there's a reason to separate that or segment that, but I feel if you can embrace that and demonstrate who you are and what your beliefs are, then you'll attract the right audience and you'll attract the right listenership, so that people won't be tapping in with you to hear your music and expecting to hear something different than what you display in real life, because everything needs to align. So that's my perspective on that.
For sure, man. Yo, can I ask how old are you now to have that type of perspective?
Me, I'm 28. I just turned 28 earlier last year.
Yeah. So yeah, it's getting there, man. It's getting there because that's where I've been for quite some time in terms I can't make any moves professionally or music wise that don't align with where I'm at spiritually or just as a man. You know what I mean? Because you got to wear that. You gotta wear that wherever you go. You know what I mean? And I won't say you make reality rap, but speaking to people's reality, I mean, just think about, you mentioned Nas, you mentioned, I'll mention Jay, I'll mention just a lot of different artists that kind of stick to those type of vibes are super successful. They can still make music in this day and time because they don't have to identify with a certain type of moniker or style, rather. That was trendy. You know what I mean? They've always spit reality raps, and that lasted the test of time. You can go anywhere with that, no matter, it ages well.
True enough, man, because that's the difference between making something for the moment and making something that has longevity. Like all the records and albums that we consider classics, they, for the most part, they come from a place of authenticity. It's not something that is following after a certain trend or is trying to tap into a certain level of popularity for the moment. It's something that is authentically created and representative of the person that created it. And that's why we resonate with it so much, because we can see that there's that level of legitimacy there. So that's my perspective when it comes to the content and bringing forward, something that, like I said, I like to make music that is representative of life experiences and how it can be relative to another person's life experience.
Okay. Earlier, you mentioned having several projects lined up with producers and, having some goals. Are you a resolution-based type of guy or a goals-based type of guy
More
at
so
the top of the
goals.
U? Okay.
Yeah,
So what?
definitely goals.
Cool. Me too. Same here. I have the same work ethic, so I don't think a resolution really matters to me. I break the months down, and January I want to do this, or by this quarter, end of this quarter, I want to accomplish this. What are some of your goals for 2023, music wise or personally, if you want to let us in on the personal goals as well?
I mean, the thing is, I'm trying to. First off, in terms of music, I'm trying to have at least 3 projects this year. Again, produced by 3 specific and separate producers. One of them I really want to tap in with is Greenery. He's been sending me some packs lately, and everything is hitting crazy. So it's real inspirational, and it's leading me to be able to create a conceptual approach for this project. Also, my producer Didi Wave, we're definitely going to be tapping in. Maybe an EP, maybe an album. We're not too sure yet. We're just in the beginning stages of that. But yeah, those are 2 producers I definitely want to hone in with this year. Because I respect their craft to such a high degree. I see that they're dedicated to what they're doing, and they demonstrate such a high skill level. And those are the type of individuals I want to align with. So yeah, just other than that, I really want to ensure that I have, my own website up early this year, so I can maintain e-commerce when it comes to this music game, because as we all know, streaming revenue isn't
No.
the
I
best for us.
checked mine. I checked mine, and it was pennies, man. It was laughable, man. I don't even. Yeah, it was terrible. It was terrible. But I get what you're saying, man.
Yeah, man, because I've seen certain artists take the independent approach, and they have to maximize the e-commerce in terms of selling the actual music, making it something that's a collectible, making it something that's a tangible item that the listener is going to value. And then, one other independent artist I look up to is Currency a lot, because he stays on the independent grind. He puts out project after project. There's really no stopping it. It's just consistent hustle. And then he has the merchandise and the live shows
top
lined
notch
up.
merchandise too. It's something you would want to rock, just in a normal day to day. So, that's a difficult thing to balance too, man. Like just having a creative team for merch that'll put your stuff out. It's hard, man, but I definitely applaud you trying to get it all on one site. I know, I forgot what guy I follow on Twitter. I want to shout him out. I think his name is Stowe. I don't know, but he's always like posting about artists. Do you have your website yet? Is it up? And it's like, I like that he does that, because it publicly shames me internally to have to do that. We have a website for the podcast, but we have a Patreon, so we move in that bit. But for the artist side, yeah, I want to start. If you want to buy my album, Bandcamp is cool. They give me a good percentage, but I want to merge all that. So if I can get 100% of it, train your audience to do that, and it's challenging. You know what I mean? At times, I think. But I think the perfect example of that is RJ Payne right now.
That's a fact. That's what inspired that idea to such a great extent, because I tapped in with RJ Payne back in 2019, I'm going to say, and I really saw his approach, because for the initial release of his projects, you can't even see those on streaming services. 9 times out of 10, it's either going to be on his site exclusively, or it's going to be on his site initially with maybe a month window between that and the DSP release. So I respect the independent hustle, because that's what we really need to be doing. We don't necessarily need a record label in 2022, 2023. Like it should be an obsolete concept, but that's the thing. As an independent artist, we really need to build that relationship with the listener, with the consumer, and go direct to consumer, because that's the best way to monetize and make this a viable, commercially viable, choice in terms of a career.
Do you think I have this argument too with a lot of artists and just behind the scenes friends that are artists, and it's like, they were like, hey, I don't want to put it on Bandcamp. A lot of people don't know what Bandcamp is that's purchasing my music, and that's not where my audience is, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, why don't you just build a website? Again, they're trying to satisfy the convenience, but they're going to keep putting it out on the streaming websites. And I'm like, dog, what are you doing this for? Like, you don't, I know you're doing it for the love, but don't you want to get something back out of all that you put in to this financially? You know what I mean? And some of them they rather just see the streams, and it's kind of to me, it's like a poor man's mindset. Like, yeah, you got a lot of streams and a lot of followers, but if you're not, I'm not a high streaming artist personally. I'll give you a personal story. I'm not a high streaming artist, but my 15, almost 1,500, in sales off of Bandcamp from just people I know personally that rock with me. And I'm not doing crazy streaming numbers. Hopefully that's the same for some of my peers. And I just say that to say there's money out there to do it. You just got to train the audience. You just can't be lazy and not want to tell them how to support you. You got to train them how to support you. What do you think about that?
Well, see, my perspective on the streaming, like the numbers, you see, at the end of the year, everyone's posting the Spotify Wrapped list, and it's like, I got this many listeners, this many hours, and it's all vanity metrics. To be completely honest with you, man, like it's like what's the point of this? It's not like, oh, look, I just got however many thousands of dollars in my account. That's not what that is. It's literally vanity metrics that is giving you a fraction of a cent on the dollar. So it's really up to us to shift that mentality and really and truly understand, boom, streaming is a valuable lane, because it helps you open up to a broader audience, whether you're going through the playlisting or whatever the case is. It opens you up to a different audience. But at the same time, it's not going to benefit you as much financially. So, it's up to us to really figure out, how can we make this a legitimate
leverage? How you leverage it?
That's a fact.
Yeah, how do you leverage it to make the money? Because for me, my old age, I'll be 40 in 3 weeks, right? In my old age, my time is very important. As young, kind of, and I'm blessed to live that long of a life. But like, my thing is, like, my time is important. I got kids, I got things I want to do, personal things I want to accomplish too. But as much time as it takes to put this podcast together, put together quality interviews, to do the research, to give people the respect that they deserve as an artist, because I know how much you guys put into it, I would like something to come back in terms of just, monetizing things and stuff like that, and to not even try to direct people's attention to how they can help me monetize and stuff like that. I think is foolish. It's just foolish. You know what I mean? And I don't care how many listens I got. Listens don't pay the bills. It don't even help. You know what I mean? So that's just where I stand with it.
You need like, whether it's the Patreon or whatever the case is, but even better to be able to create your own platform that you can direct people to. Because another independent artist I look up to a lot was Nipsey. Like, I go through, sometimes I'll just spend, some time while I'm doing some other work or making food or whatever the case is, just listening to a Nipsey interview. Because he be always dropping game and dropping jewels about how people should be maneuvering in a business sense. And that's legitimately what this is. This is the music business. This isn't the music, show and tell. This isn't the music. Right. This isn't the music game. This is the music business, for real. So that's the thing. Like, I peep game with artists that have figured out a lane that works for them, because you can't necessarily go to somebody and say, all right, what worked for you and how can I mimic that? You can take little pointers from people and peep game, but you have to figure out what works best for you. Whatever lane you happen to be, whatever stylistic approach you choose for your music, you have to figure out, all right, well, how can I get this to the right listening audience, and then how can I ensure that it's commercially viable at the same time? You know?
Yeah. Oh, I steal all the time. I jack great ideas all the time. Like, I have this book called Art is Theft. You know what I mean? Like, going back to the music thing that you were saying earlier, to where people will kind of mimic flows and stuff. And it's cool. Like, you should mimic greats, but you got to throw your own sauce on there to where it's not biting. You know what I mean? It's a fine line with that. But you should see. I mean, that's a fool working backwards if you're trying to just create your own thing without actually seeing what works previous to you. So I'm always doing that. I'm like, I'll see somebody with a dope podcast that I rock with, and okay, that podcast is set up pretty dope visually. Let me see if I could do something kind of similar to that. Not jacking it, but just take some of that sauce and put my own sauce on there and see why we could do it. You know what I mean? I'm about to subscribe to Joe Budden's Patreon. I don't want to do it, but I'm gonna do it to see how he sets up the Patreon and how he got it shaken, so I can see, okay, I could deliver this type of content, you know, to people and get them to buy in on just me shooting the shit, talking shit with my homies, pulling up, having random conversations, just like he has random conversations. And it don't have to necessarily be an interview. It could be just we all talking about how we're trying to monetize as an artist. You know what I mean? Different things. Everybody just dropping game. And that's the episode, you know what I mean? That shouldn't be free. That should be something you got to pay for.
That's a fact. And it's crazy because sometimes the most profound conversations just come from you chopping it up with your peoples, you know? Like, oftentimes I find, you know, if I'm in a room with my friends, we'll just be discussing some real profound topics, but it'll still be humor mixed in the mix, you know, talking about the things that everybody loves to listen to and people, like, whether it's music or sports, football, basketball, whatever the case is, you know, but you still find that balance of touching on a lot of interesting subject matter. So if you find a way to monetize just those regular conversations where you might even be dropping game, you know, it's even better.
Just never know. You just never know, man. But yo, man, Prophet, it's been a pleasure chopping it up with you, man. I can't wait to see what else you got in store for 2023. Before we let you go, I definitely want you to put your social media out there where people can find you and anything else that you got going on, man. So you drop it on them, man.
Most definitely. RTC Profit on all social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube is RTC Profit. That's where we got the music videos popping. Matter of fact, I'm about to go shoot another music video tonight, so I'm excited for that. All across all DSPs, whether it's, you know, Tidal, Spotify, Apple Music, RTC Profit. So same name across all platforms, and that's where you can find me. All
right. Too easy. Y'all tap in with conflict of interest. If you're watching on YouTube land, everything's scrolling down the bottom. You can check it out. If you're watching us right now, you can see the artwork right there. So you got a point of reference. That the project is short and sweet, 24 minutes. He don't keep you too long. He don't overstay his welcome. He give you a bunch of flows, a lot of good beats. A lot of guys I know on here personally that are delivering fire verses. So y'all tap in with the whole gang, man, and y'all definitely follow him so you can be updated on whatever he has next. This is episode 190. I'm Cash, aka Exec P, and my man right there is Prophet, man. Check him out. Conflict of Interest. We out.
Yes. Finally leveled the playing field. Never trust your sus. We define what's real. Shuffle shit, took losses. You know the deal. It was never an option to miss a meal. It was never an option to skip a bill. Got low, mindset of a Navy SEAL. Took my queen off the board. Now we move freely.